Ilia Topuria just absolutely dominated Josh Emmett into a 50-42 scorecard in their UFC main event fight at UFC Jacksonville. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get on to round number one. In round number one, we're going to be talking about the fight itself because there's a lot to get into. So in round number one itself, it started off pretty patient. Both guys were slower, patient in their approach, with Josh Emmett throwing out a few burst attacks against Ilia, nothing really landing. But I give the round to Ilia Topuria because he was more patient in taking his shots. He landed cleaner, and he landed at a higher clip too. First round, Ilia Topuria 10-9. So round two comes along. It was a pretty close round. Both guys picking their shots pretty well, still patient in their approach, until around 2 minutes left in the round where Ilia Topuria lands a huge right hand that sat down Josh Emmett, and I thought that was the end of the fight. Ilia Topuria has some great ground and pound, but somehow Josh Emmett survived to the third round. 10-9, Ilia Topuria once again. On to round three. This is another easy round for Ilia Topuria. At this point, he was coasting to a victory, picking his shots well, as I said earlier, and his counter-striking was really good in this round. His counter-striking was really solid. His boxing combinations as slick as usual. Another easy round for Ilia Topuria, 10-9 once again. And round four was easily Ilia Topuria's best round, landing two solid knockdowns with some ground and pound. I really don't know how Josh Emmett survived. It was a beatdown. It really was. Chris Lee gave the round 10-7 to Topuria. It was that bad. I gave it 10-8, but I honestly don't hate the decision. Josh Emmett somehow makes it to round five. And round five just shows how smart of a fighter Ilia Topuria is. He didn't shoot a takedown the entire fight until that fifth round. Got Josh Emmett to the ground. Emmett didn't do too bad on the ground, I will admit, but every time he build the base, Ilia Topuria would just chuck him back on the ground. When Emmett tried to roll, Ilia Topuria would just glide and control him. So it was really nice work from Ilia Topuria in the fifth. All right, we're in round two. Let's talk about the jab of Ilia Topuria because it was so damn good tonight. It was on auto all night long, especially in those last three rounds, and Josh Emmett didn't really have a counter to it. He didn't have a counter to it, and it allowed Ilia Topuria to dominate the striking on the feet for the entire 5 rounds. Super impressive from Ilia Topuria. High guard was also on full display for Ilia Topuria tonight. The slips, the rolls, just defensive boxing in general was super slick, and that's where a lot of people gave him stick, was his ability to defend strikes, and I thought it was super impressive for him tonight. Didn't really get hit cleanly. He didn't really get hit cleanly by Josh Emmett in this fight, so that was super impressive. He looked reinvented, which is huge if he wants to fight for a championship in the near future. Another big thing for Ilia Topuria tonight was his ability to read Josh Emmett and the strikes he was throwing. His IQ is very high in my opinion. Look at the 5 previous fights before the one tonight. He tends to fight guys differently based on their styles, so that's big if he wants to become a champion one day. And against a guy like Josh Emmett, who's super powerful, I think he had the perfect game plan. And the speed advantage was also clear tonight. The side-to-side movement, the back and forth movement from Ilia Topuria didn't allow Josh Emmett to get anything going on the feet. And I'm not going to talk about Josh Emmett a lot in this video, but I want to give him props. He stood in there against a dog like Ilia Topuria and somehow survived the 5 rounds. So props to Josh Emmett, man. We got to give the man props where it's due. So big up to Josh Emmett. The biggest thing for me in this fight was Ilia Topuria's patience. His biggest flaw was how much he overextended in previous fights. And against a guy like Josh Emmett, you cannot do that. And he realized that. He looked like he had three years of improvement in that aspect. So that was huge for me. That was absolutely huge. He was picking his strikes really well. He was slipping Josh Emmett. So that was probably the biggest thing in his path to victory tonight. Ilia Topuria was much more patient and didn't overextend like he usually does. Super impressive from the Georgian. Before we move on to round 3, Ilia Topuria's cardio was also really solid tonight. There was question marks on how he'd do in a 5-round fight, but he passed with flying colors. So when he fights for that championship eventually, this will be not an issue for him. The cardio was great tonight. Overall, it was an absolute dominant performance from Ilia Topuria. Let's move on to round 3, where we'll talk about what's next for each fighter. All right, we're in round 3. Let's start off with the loser, Josh Emmett, because I think he has 3 options he could take. Option 1, he retires, man. He's old. He's 38 years old. He's been hurt multiple times. He wears damage a lot, and I wouldn't be too surprised if he hangs it up. Great career for Josh Emmett. Option 2 is he goes up to 155. He's a big, strong guy. Maybe the weight cut to 145 is pretty damaging, so maybe if he goes up a division, he could show some improved performances. And option 3, probably the most likely one, he stays at 145 and looks for a new opponent. A lot of the guys at the top of the featherweight division are booked for a fight already, and or he's fought them already, so that's a kind of an issue. There's not many options. Maybe you throw him in there with Dan Ige again, maybe Mavzar Evloev, a surging contender, or maybe Edson Barboza, who just got a nice win. So those are the 3 options where I could see those 3 fighters, Edson Barboza, Movsar Evloev, or Dan Ige, I could see fighting Josh Emmett next. And finally, the winner, the man of the hour, Ilia Topuria. I want him fighting Volkanovski. I really want him in that title shot. I don't think any other guy deserves it more than him, and I don't want to see him fighting Max Holloway, because if Max wins, the division's kind of held up, even though Max is an absolute stud. Maybe they give Max that fourth try against Volk. I'm not too sure. Comment what you guys thought of the fight. It was really, really great performance from Ilia Topuria, and I'm wondering where he goes next. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later.